Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon, and we never know where he is. We are two retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from that police perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you will get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Today we want to talk about the jailhouse visits in prison, actually, not even in jail. These were prison visits by Vicky White to Casey White. As we know, this is a case that is just despicable. There's so many failures on many sides. We talked about the correction side 2 nights ago, but before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the folks who positively engage in this community. Ed and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to the replay viewers, the moderators, and everybody. Ed, how's it going today?
It's going good, I'm glad to be here with you and our fans and our family, rather. And, you know, they're asking, where's Waldo? It's actually, if you're going to refer to me that way, where's Wally? Wally is here.
Wally is definitely here. And you know what? Ed Wallace was definitely missed. 2 nights ago, we went live. We spoke about the correction side of it. Ed was busy doing his thing. And, you know, guys and girls, if he could be here every time, he would be. But, you know, business calls, and he has a lot of obligations to teach and to get that message out there to our active members of our law enforcement community. So we tip our caps to Ed Wallace. We know that he can't always be here for us, but maybe one day in the future, I can reel him in and we could get him full time. We'll see how that goes. But nonetheless, Ed, a horrific case out of Lauderdale County Jail, Lauderdale County in Alabama. You're talking about a corrections commissioner. She had a big title in a small department. She was trusted. She was loved by her coworkers. We see that she went on the dark side, as we say, from the NYPD when we talk about some of the bad apples and bad seeds. She went on the dark side, and she went on the dark side in a big way. Guys and girls are, you know, in the chat, they're itching to get your take on it. Ed, what's your take on this?
Well, you know, we've seen in the past history of cases just like this associated with prisoners being broken out of prison. But I want to go back and see, where was the initial connection? How did she become involved with this guy? Because she was a big muckety-muck in her agency. So you would think that, you know, there wouldn't be that much interaction, but unless it's such a small department that she had greater exposure to the various inmates that you would think her title wouldn't give her.
Right.
But yeah, so how did they establish this relationship? And because now it's coming out now that the actual sheriff is making press conferences and saying, yes, they have evidence now that she was in a relationship with this prisoner. So
and that's disturbing, to say the least. You know, when you have intermingling with law enforcement and bad guys, and then, you know, on our job with the police department, sometimes you had to deal with the confidential sources, the confidential informants. So you had to kind of actually make friends with them a little bit, and that was kind of difficult to do. I did that. It's so hard to draw that line between law and order and trying to get information from some of these bad guys. But she went on a whole nother level. You know, she became, as we come to find out, not a confirmed sexual relationship, but a definite long-term 2-year relationship. And the first clip that I want to play for everybody just gives everybody a good idea of the timeline and how long, like 2 years of visits at a prison, state prison system, where this guy was awaiting his capital murder trial. Just bizarre. He's sentenced to 75 years for attempted murder, burglary, robbery, and kidnapping, a 2015 incident. And in that same year, in 2015, he murders a woman, a 58-year-old woman, and he is now was while he was incarcerated awaiting his capital murder trial. It's coming up in June next month. That's not happening now because they're out on the run, thanks to Commissioner White, which is no relation, by the way, to everybody. Ed, this just when we spoke with Anthony and the other correction professionals that were on with us, it's a black eye, and it's a stain on the good in the business.
But if you look at the history of ththings like this, a specific profile of the people that help these inmates escape comes out, and it's looking like she's going to fit right into this statistical analysis that has been performed on previous cases like this, and about her psychological profile and so forth.
Yeah, just really disturbing when you look at the amount of work they're going to have to do to look at all of her history, everything that she's touched and done professionally in that jail system, and over that 16, 17-year period. They got to look at everything now. At what point did she turn into a bad seed? How did this happen? So that's going to be a difficult process, but they're going to get to it. I just want to play quickly this little clip that'll give you guys a good overview. Mary Rabley, thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, how did other inmates stay quiet for 6 hours from when they left until they didn't return? I want to just say this. Once they discovered that vehicle parked in the parking lot, the county sheriff's vehicle, it was only 3.5 hours. Once the regular police patrol, which is right back to back with the jail, once they found that vehicle, that's when they knew something was up. They were not relying on inmates to tell them that they had this elaborate plan. Inmates are not going to be on the side of law and order. The police, the actual patrol units that found that abandoned the sheriff's vehicle, as soon as they found that, the wheels were in motion, something was up. They just didn't report it until 6 hours total later. So,
and yeah. So they had to jump on them with that. But forget about the inmates. What about the actual employees of the prison? They violated protocol numerous times. How come no one else knew about this alleged visit to the court by this inmate? I mean, there was no paper on this. There was nothing that anybody had for the schedule of that day. And I mean, I get it. She's a high-ranking official, so maybe some of the employees were intimidated in keeping their mouth shut by her presence. But there's no paperwork on this. Nobody knew that this prisoner needed to be transported. They weren't following any of the protocols that were established. I mean, these are all red flags that somebody should have picked up a phone and called above her and say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, we talked about the checks and balances, and they weren't in place there. There was no checks and rechecks. Usually when something's signed off, it gets another signature or somebody else looks at it. And if something didn't look right, like a prisoner that's not scheduled to go anywhere, with a corrections commissioner going out, which she's claiming that she's sick and not feeling well, going out alone, he had his whole profile, his prison profile was marked because he tried to escape in the past. So he had that attempted escape, and he's also had made threats against his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife that if he got out, he told the police that he would kill her in 2015, and that's what he tried to do.
Well, it's clear he's got great manipulative powers.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, you want to play that clip for the audience, and then we'll be right back? Thank you, Josh.
Is critical. Thank you. This is the timeline laid out by authorities from the day of this escape. Again, that was on Friday. It began with an appointment for Casey White that, as we know now, never existed, giving this pair nearly.
So 11:34 a.m. from 9:41 to 11:34, police officers spot the patrol vehicle. That's when the clock started. That's when they knew that something was up. Not 3:30. Authorities released at 3:30 that the two are missing. And from 11:30 to 3:30, they figure it out. Ed, and correct me if I'm wrong, they figured out something was severely wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You find the corrections vehicle where it was in a parking lot, nowhere near where she was. And that's another thing. These vehicles don't have GPS tracking.
I would hope that they do from the manufacturer if they don't.
Right. If you're saying you're taking a prisoner from point A to point B, right? Isn't somebody at point B should have been waiting for them, but again, they weren't following protocol. So that point B didn't know that she was coming or this was happening. So no notification back to point A from point B. Hey, they didn't show up. What's going on?
Many people dropped the ball here as we
Hello?
Far and deep. But anyways, Josh, if you can continue it, we'll go from there.
A 6-hour head start before this manhunt even began, and it is a dangerous one. Casey White stands near 7 feet tall. He weighs more than 250 pounds. He has a violent history, as we have been reporting, and he is awaiting trial on a capital murder case. He was already serving time for a string of crimes that include attempted murder, robbery, add to that burglary. It is not the first time he has tried to escape either. In fact, they had a policy in place to have 2 people with him when he was being transported because they knew he was trying to get out. Sheriff Rick Singleton is with the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department and leading this investigation tonight. Sheriff, we appreciate you coming back on to talk about this. Where do we start? I mean, you seem like such a nice guy. Vicky was your colleague. She was your friend. You've known her for years. In a small sheriff's department like yours, she was family. Now you're trying to find her and this dangerous fugitive before they hurt anybody, before he hurts anybody else. Describe the range of emotions you must be feeling tonight.
Well, obviously when this first happened, we were concerned that she had been taken by force. And that was our first and immediate reaction to it. As we early on in the investigation Friday evening, it was begin to find out that she supposedly, first of all, violated policy, which is something she's never done. That she was bringing him to an appointment or scheduled court appearance that was not on the docket. He had no scheduled appearance for any purpose to be there. That was the first red flag that this might not be, what it appears to be. From there, it just went downhill.
Right. Sheriff, you must be pretty
Vicky,
frustrated by this. I mean, as I said to you last time, she duped everybody, including you. How do you sort of reconcile everything that's happened in the last 5 days?
Well, it's been an emotional roller coaster, to tell you the truth. I think for the first 2 or 3 days, we were hoping that, if he didn't, take her by force, if she arranged this or participated in it, maybe she'd been threatened or coerced for some reason to help him escape. And we were, I guess, grasping at straws, hoping maybe that was going to be the outcome. But it's very obvious now that that's not the case, that she was a willing participant. They had a relationship. She was in our facility in 2020. That's the first contact we know of that they would have had, was when he was in our facility. But he was returned to the Department of Corrections, and he was brought back here in February. But we have now learned that she visited him more than once when he was in prison between those 2 times.
In fact, I read she had several aliases. Was that so that she could visit him in jail? And what was the extent of this special relationship?
Well, special relationship, when I said special relationship, what I should have said is, we know there was a relationship, but there's no evidence there was a physical or sexual relationship. And there may very well have been, but we don't have any evidence of that. But we do know the inmates said that that was basically came from them. They said they had a special relationship, and by that they were talking about he would get favors from her specifically that other inmates didn't get.
Like what?
And, an extra biscuit on his plate for breakfast. That sounds like a small thing. But when you're in prison, in jail, they'll fight over an extra biscuit. So, it's just things like that, little things that would mean nothing and be insignificant on the outside, but are major issues sometimes on the inside.
Yeah. So what else have you uncovered in trying to determine how long they'd been having this relationship? What other clues may have been left behind? Surveillance, interviews with inmates, interviews with people outside the jail. Any other clues that could lead you to believe how long they'd been planning this and what their plan was?
No, all the information I have is that we have confirmed that they did communicate with each other, including personal visits from while he was in the state prison, between the time he was here for his arraignment and the time he returned here in February.
Sheriff, I want to play part of that video that is new for a lot of people at home seeing it tonight, of Vicky and Casey leaving the jail on Friday. And I know you've seen this roll over and over again, but what stands out to you as you're watching this video of them leaving the jail, how she's handling him as he's in shackles, leads him to the car, and also their demeanor? Anything that offers a clue to you?
Well, obviously he's in handcuffs and leg shackles, which was protocol. That was obviously done to not, create an awareness with the other corrections deputies in the building. Everything was done by protocol up to that point. When they left the building, she obviously, by walking in front of him, and obviously there was no concern on her part for her safety, it appears. So, putting him in the car and pulling out, all that would have been customary. The biggest thing about the video is the way she handled him between the booking room and the car.
And what stood out to you about that?
Well, her walking in front of him, her turning her back on him. That's just simply, you just do not do that. And she's never done that, that I'm aware of. But
yeah, you guys describe her as an exemplary employee, not a blemish on her record in the more than 12 years, almost 16 years that she worked for you all. Let's go through some of the evidence that we do have. We know they dumped that patrol car, and Vicky bought a used car. It's this copper-colored red Ford Edge. Is that still the car that you are looking for tonight?
It is. We're concerned that once word got out that was the car we was looking for, people ask me about that. I tell them, well, if you were in their shoes and we knew you knew that we knew what you were driving, what would you do with that car? So, I do think that we will find that car now in the next couple of days, probably. And the silver lining in that cloud is that when we find the car, that'll give us some idea of what geographic area we need to start looking in.
Right, another breadcrumb. I mean, they could be anywhere, as we said, a 6-hour head start, and now it's been 5 days. Vicky also sold her house, Sheriff. Do you have any idea how much cash she may have on hand that can help them stay on the run?
I don't, but I would assume she's got a few $1,000s with her. That's another silver lining, I guess, about the car. If they do dump the car, of course, they're either going to have to steal one or use some of that cash to buy another one. So, that might give us a lead that we don't have right now. So there's always a silver lining. And I guess that's the silver lining in this situation.
Well, you're looking at it glass half full, but you've got your work cut out for you, Sheriff. They are both considered armed and dangerous.
So there you have it. I wanted to play that because it really covered quite a bit of where we are right up to today. But we do know that, she was able to go either under an alias or just on her own accord to one of the state prisons local there where he was being housed and visit him several times. How does that happen, Ed?
Well, I mean, there's no prohibiting her from going there to visit. She works for the jail, not the prison system. Those are two different systems. He was just brought in from the prison to jail for the arraignment on the other charges. Okay, so now she has jurisdiction just at that jail. Okay, right. So she established some kind of relationship with this guy from the last time he was in her jail, and they must have been communicating.
Right, Ed. But when you go to a prison, when you go to a
sign
jail,
in.
When you go to a prison, you get signed in, you get searched, your ID gets checked.
Right.
If she presented her ID, it would show that she's the commissioner of the county jail. And I would have to say that in a small place like, Lauderdale County and adjoining counties or wherever the visit was, I got to look that up, that, a lot of people know each other, and
right.
She was not just some CO, she was the commissioner in charge of transportation, but she had a pretty decent title in the corrections field. So I just find it hard to believe that she went under her own name.
Well, you would think that everybody there would know her and who she is and her position. But if she did go there with false ID and a wig and try to mask herself, that will come out in the investigation. But I don't think so. I don't think it was that elaborate.
Right. Yeah. She probably just slipped in there just as a visit or maybe said, hey, this is official business. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out because eventually all of that will come to light. But that's neither here nor there. What the reason why I brought this up is because it's just unbelievable that you have a person who's standing. He was sentenced to 75 years in prison on the previous charges that I read off: attempted murder, kidnapping, robbery, and burglary. That was from 2015. Then in that same year, after that 75-year sentencing, he commits the second act, which he took someone's life. You know, there's conversations that it was a paid hit, like he was a hitman, he was paid to kill this woman. It didn't matter. He's charged under the capital murder, capital punishment trial, as they deem him. Now she's going and visiting this guy, knowing that he took somebody else's life. That's what's making this, like, I'm double downing on it, because it shows, like, everyone's saying she was an exemplary employee. She was this and she was that. She was hiding it well, but she really wasn't.
Yeah, she seemed to have been planning this for quite some time, including the sale of her house, getting the other car, things of that nature. It wouldn't surprise me if she went onto the dark web and bought a whole 2 sets of identity documents, a whole set, including passports, birth certificates, social security cards for both her and him, and
Right.
And are using them now. Now she had a 6-hour head start, you figure, right? And then, you know, they got to pull over someplace and change. They got to get out of those clothes, change their appearance. So then there's a slight delay there. So, you know, if you take, say, I don't know, how long would it take you to do that? An hour tops, right? So 5-hour head start. And then you're driving at this point, and you would drive for 5 hours at a normal rate of speed, because you don't want to attract the attention of law enforcement by speeding and running red lights or whatever the case may be. You draw a radius and you see how far you can get from that location in 5 hours. And, you know, and then who knows, maybe they made it to their border. Maybe they got to the Gulf and jumped on a boat. Maybe they got to Texas and then were working their way to the Mexican border. Who knows where they are?
Exactly, Ed. You know, you never know how much ground they could cover. They're not going to be speeding because they don't want to get pulled over. So they're abiding by the rules of, you know, whatever the highway speeds are, and they're doing everything right to not get pulled over. But Heidi Zip puts up a good point. She's a channel member, a good friend of the Crime Time with DutyRon. She says, you think the guys stand out, how big he is. Yeah, he definitely stands out like a sore thumb. 6'9" is not a normal size, 330 pounds. And
he's got a full sleeve tattoo on one arm. And now their faces have been out there, you know, so people know what they look like. It's plastered all over the news nationwide. Law enforcement has Ebola. Be on the lookout for. All across the nation, on local, state, and federal law enforcement are all looking for these two. It's, you know, it's not going to be easy for them, but then again, to elude law enforcement. But, you know, she is law enforcement, so she has some idea of, you know, how things go, and she may be able to help elude him. But, you know, there's a lot of talk in here that she may be dead. I see an intent.
She could be. That could be very well. But I think that he definitely needs somebody. And she's not the end all. And she was his means to get out of jail. Mm-hmm. He could have very well killed her and said, you know, I have a love interest on the outside. And then she joined in with them and they dumped her somewhere. That's a possibility. But, you know, if we're going that they're both together and they're on the run, she's going to be the one that could put a wig on or change her appearance, dye her hair black, change her appearance, and go out and get supplies and get the things. But I would say this, they're laying low. They know that the US Marshals are out looking for them. They know that the FBI and the Secret Service are on this case and they're enhancing it. They know everything about what's going on. They're probably watching the news coverage. They may be watching this. The bottom line is that they're going to lay low wherever they are. And they could be somewhere in the mountains. They could be anywhere. So it is what it is. Josh, you had that second piece that I wanted you to play because we're going to wrap it up in a few. This is just going to talk about some of the folks who she worked with or some of her friends. So we're going to hear a little bit. This is a short one.
And to find a violent convict continues. You've heard about this. The corrections officer authorities believe helped him escape from jail. Now in a 6-day, she's wanted too. Sheriff's office in Lauderdale County also confirming the couple had a special relationship. that may have been building and taking place for years. Sam Brock has the very latest.
In this newly released surveillance video, the pair left the jail last Friday like it was any other day. Corrections officer Vicky White holding the door open for accused killer Casey White, who was handcuffed and shackled. They can later be seen popping into Vicky White's patrol car, but the man serving 75 years in prison for violent crimes and the deputy honored with 4 Employee of the Year awards have not been seen since.
We have discovered some evidence that confirms that there was a relationship outside her work hours. I'm not talking about a physical relationship, but outside her work hours, there was some contact between the two.
The sheriff giving us a tour of where White, facing capital murder charges, was staying.
From here, Casey White's cell was the first cell here on the left. You got the 2 windows. One of the windows looking into the bunk room.
A former inmate expressing shock over the deputy now suspected of freeing the massive 6'9" convict.
Everybody loved her. Nobody had nothing but good things to say about Vicky, ever.
In this small Alabama community,
I think they left the area. They had a 6-hour head start.
many are playing armchair detective, with curbside chats turning from confusion to concern for the deputy.
I think she maybe was thinking that they were going to have a relationship. He's playing her.
The sheriff's department confirming this 2007 Ford Edge with damage to the rear bumper was their getaway car, though miscommunication led a local police department to publish that alert before the time was right.
It's basically put us back to almost square one. We know they're going to probably get rid of that vehicle, so now then we're not going to have a clue again what they're driving.
Vicky White's former mother-in-law worried about a woman she says would never stray far from home and loved her family.
I figure he should have done something to her. We probably won't ever hear from him.
Again, that is Sam Brock, and we will continue to follow this story.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so, look, everyone's saying and praising this Vicky White, but what she did do here, and it was, as we see her walking out, she had no concern for her safety. It was like she was leading her boyfriend out of jail, essentially, the way she walked out with him. Not even a look back. I've done that perp walk many a times with working in the warrant squad and doing the trip team, and I've gone to many jails where it's the same setup. And there's never, ever been a time that I turned my back to any prisoner, even knowing that they don't have anything on them, that they just got searched thoroughly. You just never know, and you don't want to give them that opportunity. I want to just read quickly to you guys. I'm going to go full screen with this real quick, Ed, and I just want everyone to see this. I have an article here that covers all of his criminal history, and it says court records show he pled guilty in 2010 to domestic assault for attacking a male relative with an axe handle, and received a sentence of 6 years in state prison. Then in 2015, in a jealous rage over an ex-girlfriend, he rushed into her home armed with 2, not 1, 2 handguns, according to court documents. Suspecting that his ex-girlfriend was sleeping with one of the residents, he broke into the back bedroom and found her with 2 roommates holding hands, one with one another, and he realized they were not involved with his ex. According to police documents, he ordered them onto the floor at gunpoint and turned his anger towards his ex-girlfriend. The victim was able to dash out past him and get out the back door, but according to the warrant in 2017, this was a home invasion. Investigators told him that he shot her as she ran past him, but he missed her. So he tried to shoot at the girl who ran out the door. He continued firing and fled out the front door, shooting the roommate and the dog in the process. The ex escaped through the back door, and the roommates climbed out the bathroom window and they ran to a neighbor's house. Responding officers found bullet holes in the walls and a dead dog in the hallway. 2 children sheltering in the basement, but White took off in a stolen car and led cops on a chase across state lines into Giles County, Tennessee, before police eventually cornered him. So it was he went on this whole big thing. He stated that he wanted to kill her and have the police kill him. The warrant concludes. His only regret was that he was neither successful on both points. He stated that if he was ever released, that he would kill his ex-girlfriend. The sheriff's office said on Wednesday that he also threatened to kill his ex-sister. Really nice guy. Local and federal law enforcement said the 2 potential targets had been warned of his escape and were placed under protection. So they're being protected now. And there's an area, he's from West Limestone. It's very backwoods, a lot of wooded areas, not very populated. A former acquaintance told Fox News that they're concerned that he's hiding out in that area. I highly doubt that. But this just gives you an idea of, how vicious this guy is, and, how he has no regard for human life. I mean, these are people who were near and dear to him, and because they wanted to end the relationship, he wanted to kill them. So this is what you're looking at. This is a dangerous killer, Ed. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, the percentage of her being dead or alive is not in her favor.
I agree. I agree, because he used her to get himself free. I don't really see any loyalty or dedication to her, because once she served her purpose, and I'm sure that he took her money if she had it all with her,
and weapons.
She sold a $200,000 home. It was actually, I think it was appraised at $205,000 for $95,000 on an auction website. So
I don't think they're hunkering down, though. Honestly, I think they're on the move.
No, I agree. So yeah, I mean, while serving a 75-year sentence in a crime spree case, White told authorities he was responsible. He admitted while he was in on a 75-year sentence, he confessed to a murder for hire plot in 2015, and he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. So this was Miss Ridgway, who he stands accused of killing, 58-year-old woman. But this guy, just a brutal, monster, an evil, has no regard for human life whatsoever. But that's what makes it even more insane, is that this woman, Vicky White, you can't even call her a professional correction. I call her just now, she's a criminal. This criminal, Vicky White, takes off with this guy, knowing his history, knowing his background, knowing what kind of a piece of garbage he is. Her husband died, I believe, in January of this year, and he had Parkinson's disease. So he died from Parkinson's. I'm sure that wasn't, a pleasant thing for her to go through with him. But all along, 2 years going back, this was just January 2022, she was having this special, what do they call it? Special relationship, special, just crazy. Listen, guys, we're going to continue to cover this and follow it closely. Ed, if they find this vehicle, what kind of advantages forensically would they have having this vehicle?
Well, I mean, not much, unless there's, they might find other DNA and fingerprints of co-conspirators, because right now we know who these two are. So finding their hairs and fibers, finding their fingerprints and DNA in the vehicle really wouldn't lead us. However, now, if we find her blood in the car, that's a big clue that he may have done some, killed her, or and got rid of that body. So now they know that the car is out there. People know the make and model and so forth. They probably have the license plate as well. They probably ditched that car already, and they're on to their next vehicle.
Yeah, I agree. Because they know that that's out there. They're not going to be sticking with that car. A red vehicle with a damaged bumper. They definitely got rid of that car. I'm just waiting for them to find it and recover it and see what they got inside there. And like you said, it's a used vehicle, so there could be DNA from the previous owners, but there also could be some DNA from some of his associates.
Right, and not many people use maps nowadays, right?
Right.
Okay, but maybe if there's information on the hard drive or the black box of the vehicle, we could see where they were. Maybe there's information to that, where they were, where they stopped, how long they stopped, and then we can try to figure out movements, who they may have come in contact with, and things of that nature.
Right.
They might have went out and bought burner phones, so they have access to some kind of communications. Because he's a criminal. He's probably have extensive network of criminals that he could reach out to help him. The vehicle could give us some leads in some areas, but
Yeah, I agree.
forensically, in terms of them two, no.
Yeah. But like you said, you brought up some good points. You know, if her blood's in that vehicle, or even if his blood's in that vehicle, you know, you never know what they could find in there. But the bottom line is they know who the two of them are. They want, you know, the two perpetrators, her and him. They know who they are. They're identified. But anything additional would also, you know, enhance the investigation to see if they did have any, like you said, help from co-conspirators. This is a well planned out, probably long time planned out event. She didn't just come up with this in a day or two.
No, not at all. And I think her usefulness may be over, to be quite honest with you. You know, if you're fleeing by yourself, that's, you know, you have a better chance than if you're fleeing together.
Right. You know, and she's 56 years old, 17 years or more spent combined. They were talking, some people were talking over 20 something years combined, because I think she had a civilian job with the county. So she took on the correction 16, 17 years ago. She's 56 years old. Casey White's 38. The bit of an age difference there. I don't know, you know, again, what the relationship was. None of us have that information. And we don't know if she used aliases. Everyone's asking that in the chat. I would say that be patient, because all of this will come out eventually. You know, this guy, again, has no regard for human life. He's killed a dog in the process of his crime spree. He is, you know, he's a killer. He's a murderer. And he will not, he wanted to be killed by suicide by cop. It didn't happen. And he said openly that he regretted that didn't happen. So I don't think that, you know, in the 5, 6, 12, you know, 7 years that he's been in since 2015, I don't think that he's a reformed altar boy by any means there, folks. So.
Yeah, you know, there's in the chat also is people saying, you know, she can change her appearance much easier than him. Absolutely all true. Absolutely all true. But yeah. I think this guy's a master manipulator, and you know, he used her to get what he needed, and what he needed was the breakout. What else? I mean, so let's just see how this plays out. If this is going to we find both of them, or we find one of them, and then now we're looking for her someplace else. But in addition, it's just a sad state of affairs for law enforcement that someone fell to this manipulation and went to this extent to break her boyfriend out of jail.
Yeah, and throw out a full, what was an illustrious career up to that point, according to the jail officials. You know, the sheriff had no idea that this 2-year thing is going on. So I don't know, you know, undetected for 2 years. So she had everybody fooled. Doodlebug, thank you for the $2 super chat. She says, thank you to DutyRon and Ed. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And guys and girls, if you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, please consider right now hitting the subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up. Follow us on all things social media, all one word, DutyRon, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now we're on TikTok. Ed hates that, but we're on TikTok.
Hey, Ron, there was also a question about why was law enforcement upset about the leaking of the vehicle information, and they were upset because you know, I understand there's a public awareness where some people are saying, well, the public should know that. Well, that card should have been held close to law enforcement's vest, because at that point they didn't know law enforcement were onto that car. Okay. And so the bolo went out to all of law enforcement. So law enforcement should have known about the car. And, you know, I see it both ways. I see why some people would say, well, you know, the public has a right to know about that vehicle. And yes, they do. But at what time? You know, so they didn't know that law enforcement knew about the vehicle yet. So now that's a card that was shown prematurely on law enforcement's part. That's what their law enforcement is upset about, because had they not known that law enforcement knew about that car, it would give law enforcement a better chance of catching them. But
I agree.
Now they ditched that car, and they're on to probably another car.
Well, I think what might have happened there, Ed, is that, you know, the feds are working in conjunction with the locals, and it got passed around within interagencies, so state, federal, local, and somebody leaked that out, and it got out before they wanted it to get out. And that's unfortunate because we had that happen in the New York City Police Department. When we did our search warrants, we didn't even tell patrol that we were going to do a hit at such and such location because we didn't want the bad guys to get a tip. So that's how that stuff happens sometimes. Or somebody thinks that the media is their friend and they're like, hey, you didn't hear this from me, but here's the vehicle, here's the information. So there could be many ways how this got out, but nonetheless, they didn't want them to know that the cat was out of the bag. If they thought that the car was still a secret and law enforcement had no clue of it, they might have been more brazen and bold and traveled longer distances with it. Single mom of 4, thank you for the $2 super sticker. And also Tara Wells sends in a super chat and says, how much info do they have? They don't share a lot. What types of things do they likely know by now? I mean, Ed, you want to take that?
What kind of things do they likely know? Well, they've probably done a background and see just how many weapons she has. And they'll be looking at all known aliases, and they'll be looking at all known accomplices. They'll be looking at family member who have supported him over the years. They'll be looking to see, telephone records, texting. They'll be looking for license plate readers, toll plaza, gas station cameras. They'll be looking, as you said, just about everything. Traffic cams. Trying to track these movements. They'll be checking in that 5-hour radius of time what airports are nearby, which one of these airports are international. Could they have gotten on a flight? Could they ditched the car and jumped on a train across the country?
Right.
What buses and things of that nature. They'll be looking at all kinds of other transportation issues. And
to expand on that, Ed, every piece of family member on both sides of her side and his, whether they're involved or not in it, they're going to look at all of their search histories and all of the things that they've been researching to see if they had any intertwined help. If he was asking for people for help from the outside, don't forget, she might have had this elaborate plan or put together a plan of exit to get him out, but he might have behind her back been putting his own plan together to sabotage her once they get out. So that's what they'll look for as well. Those are things that we won't hear anything about. That is part of the internal investigation. We don't have access to that case file, but law enforcement will look to see what he was planning or some of his people were planning to do to her upon his exit and being sprung out of jail.
Yeah, they'll look at where he's lived over the years prior to his incarceration. And, so those things will get looked at, they'll actually get visited, and so forth. But so like I said, I think they're on the run.
Yeah, I do. I believe so too, because they're trying to get somewhere where they can feel comfortable, but I don't know they're going to feel comfortable anywhere because their faces are all over national television and international. This is an international story now. Gia Montanero says, I think I botched her name because it's so small I can't see it.
Montanero.
Thank you, Montanero. She says, our cops are the best. They will catch him. Well, they will catch them. So if you're from that local area, my thoughts and my heart and prayers go out to your whole community and your people. It's a very, very, it's an eyesore on any community to have this happen. And I hope that the sheriff's department and the jail, right from the top down, gets a once over and maybe a twice over. And anybody and everyone who's failed in recognizing this jailbreak gets either retrained or transferred or whatever the case may be, depending on what what they ignored. And there was many red flags involved in this that could have exposed what she was trying to do. But it's not right for us to sit Monday morning quarterback it. So we'll leave it at that. So I got to get out of here. I know Ed's got things to do. I want to just say thank you to the replay viewers, the channel members, the moderators, and all the Patreon supporters and everyone who just subscribed. Remember, subscribing is free. Doesn't cost you anything. Hit the thumbs up, share this video, like this video, talk about the case, keep it going. Ed and I will keep you guys abreast on this. Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday. So to all of you great mothers out there, we send lots of love to all of you. Ed and I are sending all the great moms out there love and respect. And whether you're a mother of a child or a dog or anything, you are a mother, you know. And listen, we have some of the greatest aunts, uncles, grandmothers who have raised kids and now are raising kids again. So all of our best to all of the moms, right, Ed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. Okay.
We love you guys. We love you. So as I like to end all of these, I want to say God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially our law enforcement families across the United States and across the globe, they're searching for these two very dangerous people. I'm sending them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. I do not want to see any civilians or law enforcement get hurt in the capture of these two. So I'm saying prayers for them. Thank you guys.
Remember, they're armed and dangerous. Okay.
Armed and dangerous. Yes. Watch your six, everybody. Thank you, Ed. Thanks for being here. And we will see you on the next one. Peace from New York. Ed, where are you? Are you in Staten
Island?
Peace from Queens and peace from Staten Island. Thanks, guys.
Staten, Italy.
Take care, Ed. I'll
All
see
right,
you guys. Bye, everybody.